Hi there, I'm Kylie Mowbray-Allen from Hello Media.
And I'm Jenni Walke from Elephant in the Room Consulting, and you're tuning into Bite-Sized Business Live Podcast, the show that helps business owners get clarity and insight to grow their dream business.
Whether you're launching, ready to scale, or figuring out what's next, we discuss the nitty-gritty, the hard bits, the opportunities, and the behind the scenes, and share how we've grown our own companies and helped others do the same.
We're glad you're here. Hi there, everyone. This is Jenni Walke from Elephant in the Room Consulting and Kylie Mowbray-Allen from Hello Media, and you're tuning into Bite-Sized Business Live Podcast, the show that helps small business owners get clarity and insight to grow their business dreams. Hi, Kylie. How are you today?
Great, Jenny. Good to be with you here on Zoom after we've had a wee break. Nice to see you.
It is nice. We're back doing our bite-sized podcast. And today we're talking about building a solid business foundation to help make your business work for you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I've been talking about that a lot with clients at the moment, particularly e-commerce clients. But I know this is an area that you really specialize in, Jenny. So tell me a little bit about, even just to give us an idea of what that topic means.
Well, building good business foundations and strong foundations really has two parts to it. Often we talk around business structure, and business structure has the legal side. So whether you're a company or a sole trader or a trust or a partnership or anything like that, but that's only half the conversation. When we look at things like business structure, we're talking about risk management. We're talking about how do I minimize my exposure to financial or tax risk or even risk of my personal assets. And that's what the legal conversation around how you structure your business is about. But the bit that's actually more important in my view than that is the operational business structure. So how are you designing your business and running your business on a day-to-day basis that's going to help you be successful, but also set you up to grow and to pivot when you need to. So that's the space that I love to play in, is looking at strong business structure and foundations that allow your business to grow.
I totally agree with you. It's such an important conversation, not just at the very beginning before you've even started your business, but regularly throughout, because obviously your businesses change and we pivot and all of that. What's super interesting too is that not all of us, I would say probably the majority of us, don't go in the direction in business that we initially thought that we would. Things come up as we go along and we suddenly do those little pivots along the way, particularly in an e-commerce space where they might have come up with an idea. Maybe they had a hobby and then they thought, oh, I think I can actually sell this product. So off they go and do some markets. They might build a website, selling online, and off they go. And then all of a sudden they get their first person approaching them and saying, I'd like to sell your product in my shop. And then what? Because they haven't worked out their pricing based on that structure that they would wholesale and retail. So it's very, very problematic, isn't it? So what sort of tips do you have, do you think, for people where they've already been in business for a little while, and then they've got to find a way to actually make it work better for them?
So great question. There are probably 3 or 4 key things that we do. So let's just start with 3. The first one is, when you think about what you want your business to be, don't just think about it now, think about it what it might grow into. So it may never get there, but having that vision of what it might grow into means that you're setting up your foundations from the start and preparing it for that growth. So it actually, you're almost manifesting your growth through your business structure, if you want to talk it like that. So for example, an e-commerce business, for example, who's solely going to be an e-commerce business, needs to consider, if this product that I'm selling blows up, can I still store it in my garage? Or do I need to start manufacturing offshore? Or do I need a storage unit? And what is that going to look like? So you don't need to buy those things up front, but recognizing when are the triggers when you're going to be able to have to take that next step. So what does your business look like? How do you want it to grow? The second piece is around that pricing element. So looking at, when I'm pricing it, what is the true cost of my business? So don't just look at the product cost. Don't just look at what it costs me to manufacture or pull it together. Look at your time and electricity and the cost of your staff. So what is that real cost of your product. So your cost of goods sold is the accounting term for that. Understand what that is and make sure you've built enough fat in your retail price that if you do actually want to get into a wholesale stage, or you actually want someone else, may not be a formal wholesaling product, but you might have a business partner who says, actually, I'm going to sell that. I'm going to sell it for you. You do the manufacturing and e-commerce, and I'll manage your different sales channels. You need to make sure there's enough fat in it to cover commissions and margins for your retailers and the people who are wholesaling your product. And that requires some planning up front, because you don't want to go from a position of selling your product for $10 and then realizing you actually need to sell it at $23 to enable it to get to a wholesaler or a retail space. So being really aware of that early means that you're setting up your business for long-term success. The third one is considering the resources that you want. So when you're building a business, what are the resources that you need now, but what are the resources that you're going to need going forward? And that links back and loops back to that first conversation around, not only space, but staff. So you're the CFO, the sales manager, the BD, everybody up front when you first start your business. But do you want to be like that forever? And if you don't, what is the structure that you need to enable to do that? Do you want a flat structure? How are you going to manage your staff? What policies and procedures do you need? And what are some of the requirements that your business is going to need in terms of space, technology, and people that is going to enable you to grow? So having a plan and just taking some time, doesn't need to be a long time. It might spend a day with your team asking yourself some key questions around, who am I? Where do I want to go? What does my business look like? How can I grow? What is possible and where could we be in 5 years? Planning that early allows you to start building the right foundations and the right strategy and structure that's going to help you grow.
Really comes back down to your piece that, right from the very beginning, which is that accidental business owner, doesn't it?
100%. So often in so many business, there's very, very few people that go, I'm going to start a business. Let me find a product or a market and then start a company. Most businesses in this current climate do it because it's coming from a hobby into something that they love. It gets picked up. I mean, we talk about the earrings that I always wear, Blackbird design earrings that are, Nikki Gallagher's work is phenomenal, but she's gone from kind of just doing a couple of pairs of earrings a month as a bit of a side hustle. It's now taking up most of her weekends. She's pivoting her products because the demand is there, but she's also starting to feel the pressure of that business growth. So she's having these conversations about, how do I grow? It wasn't intended to be a full-time business, but when your business is successful and you've got a market who wants what you offer, that's the time you need to take advantage of that opportunity and pivot to meet that need.
It's a really interesting one, particularly with something creative like jewelry making, for example, because I know I've got a friend years ago who used to make the exquisite PowerShell jewelry. So PowerShell from New Zealand. She did markets. They were incredibly popular. She did brilliantly. But then came the issue. Number one is, I don't actually want to have anybody else making my stuff. This is me. I love what I make. And number two is, I don't want to be doing 40 hours a week just on making. 40 hours a weekend just on the making of it. And then, it just got out of control. And it became a beast that she wasn't really able to tame. So sadly, what she did was just close the whole thing down. So because she didn't want to be sitting in the workshop just in the dark, just going for it, but she didn't want to hand it over to someone else to help. So it was a really tricky thing. So again, it's deciding when it's time to grow, how are you actually going to make that happen? What does it look like?
And that's why we want to have those conversations early or often. So if you haven't had a chance to have those and you just started your business and you're an accidental business owner that people are loving what you're selling and you're on that roll, that's awesome. But take half a day, take even an hour to say, can I sustain this? And that's what business structure is about. Structure and foundations are about helping you create systems that enable you to sustain the growth of your business. So that means things are going to change over time. So if you go into business, you have to also go into and being willing to change and being willing to adapt the way that you structure your company in order to meet the demand or to meet your own personal needs. So in that case, she went from high demand to not being able to sustain it because she probably didn't think there was any other way. Someone else might have said, well, you know what, just stay a hobby business. Don't do that anymore and only sell 50, maybe do 50 or 20 a week. And that's your limit. That's okay. But we get on this roller coaster of what success is supposed to look like, and we start to think we need to be mass producing our product, and all of a sudden it becomes overwhelming for us. So being really clear about your own goals and what you want out of the business is going to help you structure your business at each stage of the business that allows you to have that sustenance and that resilience in your business. And it's something that is often missing.
Totally. And it's very much about how you cope with the demand as well, because people were getting cranky with her when there wasn't stuff ready, at the market. Like clearly, she got really, really well known. But that's a thing, isn't it? Then what you can do is you can actually oversupply. So let's just say she did go out there and find a manufacturer or bring in people to do it. She actually then needs to up the price, because she's actually then going to be paying wages. Or maybe she's gone offshore, then she's got to do it in bulk. You've got the risk of suddenly your designs are out there, and anything can happen out there. So it's a really, really tricky thing to decide, where do you want to go? What are you comfortable with? And how you're going to cope with that demand? And, what does it mean for your company? What does it mean for you personally? I know in my own business right now, not a product-based business, but definitely I'm working way too many hours because we're needing to bring on new staff, and that onboarding stage takes such a long time and getting people up to speed. But at the end of the day, I know it's a finite time that I need to be doing these extra big days and weeks. But knowing that you've then got to bring on new staff, that means you've got to change your pricing structure too, because are the prices that you're charging actually going to allow for that more staff?
And that's exactly, and it's so true though. We get that point and there's these pinch points in our business. And so what you recognize is, what the sweet spot for your business is in terms of the number of staff that you need to manage your client load and to manage the work that you're doing. So therefore, that if that number has to change, there's an extra effort at several pinch points throughout your business career where you have to go, okay, we've had a turnover of staff, so let's actually add a few more. I know I've got to put this extra time, and vice versa. And so that again, knowing those conversations of where your pinch points are in your business allows you to be really clear about, okay, how do I manage that? What extra resources am I going to need during that pinch point? As a business consultant, I find my work has those ebbs and flows. We're delivering significant number of workshops at the moment. I'm traveling 2 to 3 days a week. And so for us, my team has had to step up to do a lot of extra work at the back end to make sure that kind of, my emails are read and the wheels are turning while I haven't been here. Then there's some time where I've been off because I was sick, and then I'm like, oh gosh, now there's another pinch point. So when you recognize those, rather than thinking, oh my God, the world is over, stop and say, how do I manage this pinch point? It's not going to last forever. It's going to come, it's going to hurt a little bit, but then how do I get past it? Again, the right structure will support you or it will hinder you. And that's particularly with online businesses. We talk a lot about your know, like, and trust factor, building a strong online presence, creating engagement with your clients. That's critical so that when you're actually going through these motions, you've got a support network, you've got your fans, your raving fans on the other side going, it's okay, you can have a break for a month because I'm still going to be here when I come back. So managing your clients online, managing that growth through that process is part of all that structure conversation.
Absolutely. And I think when you just said managing your growth, I've got a colleague that is currently spending around $200,000 in ads per month. And that just blows my mind, because I'm like, I actually could not, like, if those ads were working successfully, I couldn't even cope with that client load of what it would be bringing in. So yeah, it's very much about, what do you want it to look like? Where do you want it to head? What's your 1-year goal, your 5-year goal, your 10-year goal? And what's your exit strategy? And when is too much? What does too much look like to you? And having that chance to take a step away. You and I both recently had holidays, and we had teams in place so we could actually step away.
Yeah.
But if
and
you
that's
don't have
we got our structure, right?
That's exactly right. But then, like I just said, I'm still working on that right now. So it's not something that I set and forget. So really making sure you've got that CEO day locked in each week. For some people, it might be each month. For me, I've got to work on it every week. Look at how the company's going, have those team meetings, and make some really solid decisions about how to move forward in a manageable way to avoid the overwhelm.
Definitely. And it's also thinking that your structure doesn't have to be rigid. And this is the challenge, is you can have good foundations, but the foundations also have some movement, right? They're not just locked in, because when things change and there's movement in the ground, you need to be able to respond to that. So your business structure will change over time. It's how we go from solopreneurs to entrepreneurs to full company and, empire owners, is actually a change in structure. You don't end up, a Richard Branson by saying, I can do it all on my own. You have to recognize that there's people on board at some point that you need to bring in, and that your one business may turn into 3 businesses because you've actually recognized you've got 3 different markets doing 3 different products. And I often see that with clients who are trying to manage all these different aspects of their business, different markets, different needs of their clients as a single business. That is a really great example of, if your business is growing and you've got heaps of demand, your business doesn't have to stay one company. It can pivot, it can split off and have multiple brands and multiple arms. Yes, that gives you more things to do, but it also actually allows you to manage each individual at their own growth rate and increase its overall potential, rather than thinking that's all the same. So again, good structure, understanding how you are, what you're doing now and where it's growing, but also respond to your business. Don't be afraid to try and play around with your business structure. Maybe you want to hire a general manager to help you actually do the operations, and you step out and become the face of the business. That might work for some. Others might find it untenable, and that's okay, because business isn't about getting it right the first time. It's about trying it until you find a structure that works for you.
And get a coach to help you with that. Maybe you don't need a general manager. Maybe you actually need a coach that's just going to help you. Like I've got one particular client that I've been working with her for years. Every single week without fail, I coach her. And I'm almost like her business partner, or her business everything, really. We jump on every week. We go through all the stuff. We go through the highs, the lows, and then we talk about where we're heading to grow and get bigger. And I think it's makes such a difference having someone that is, yes, I'm holding her hand and guiding her, but I'm also right there in the trenches with her as well and hearing about it all. So yeah, I highly recommend you all to think about who can you have as a mentor and who can you have as a coach, and help you make some of those big decisions in your business and the little decisions.
100%. I mean, that's why you and I do what we do, right? Because we can see some of those challenges that businesses are having that they can't see, because they're head down in the weeds, just getting the job done. So sometimes taking that moment out, and it doesn't have to be, a coach every week. It might be once a month. It might be once a quarter, who just does your business strategy planning with you and says, okay, how have you gone? What are you doing? Is it working for you? And I think the key takeaway when you're looking at the right business structure for you is to ask those questions. Is my legal structure still working for me? Am I still minimizing my tax, minimizing my risk, and maximizing my profit through my business structure? And is actually my operational structure also working with me? So they're questions that you should be having really regularly with an external person, and a coach or a consultant like the work we do is exactly what we do, is to help people identify the right structure for their business, the right strategy for their business that's going to help them continue to grow and pivot.
That's right. And as you said, though, at the very beginning, there is another way of looking at the business structure, and that is from that whole accountant perspective. And that's what I'm doing today, is having a meeting with my accountant and financial business advisor. I don't find those ones nearly as fun as working with a coach on the more creative parts of the business. But it's also really important that you look at those aspects too. So,
most definitely.
Yeah. So make sure, if you like getting involved in our business chats, that you follow us on our socials. Check out what we've got going on our email, on our websites with blogs and that kind of thing. And make sure that you subscribe, ding the little bell so that you know when we've got another 15-minute bite size coming up. So Jenni, how can people get in touch with you?
Best way to find us is on Insta or Facebook. So at Elephant in the Room AU on Insta will get to us, and all our links are from there. Or head to our website, elephantintheroomau.com.
Beautiful.
What about you, Kylie?
hellomedia.team, or on Facebook, hellomedia.dreamteam. So yeah, come and connect with us, follow us, and get involved in the chat. And every week we've got some chats going on, or bite-sized chats going on, about how we can help you grow and manage your business.
Very much so. Looking forward to our next chat. Probably something to do with digital. It's always, I like hearing the new tips and hacks that are happening, that's coming out in the digital space, particularly at the moment. There are so many things changing. So we can't wait to hear that conversation next time we chat.
Awesome. Look forward to it. Thanks so much for tuning in. Nice to see you, Jenni. Bye-bye.
Nice to see you too, Kai. Bye, everyone.